Ready? Yeah. Welcome to the pod.
Welcome.
2 cents, Josh and Spence. We are your hosts, Josh and
Spence.
What up, fam?
Let's do a numbers check.
Quick numbers check, please.
Dustin told us right before this podcast that we've got some mates down in Australia. Down in the down under. Listening to this podcast. 22 of them.
The 22 Aussies just feeling us right now.
Shout out.
So it turns out we do very well with males between 25 and 34, especially
About 100% of our audience.
especially down under. And if they're not down under, they're in England.
Oh, man.
Hey,
These guys are, the boys are just throwing a little shrimp on the bob, putting a little 2 cents on.
hey, let's have a proper pod here, mate, eh? Huh? Let's have a pod.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Fish and chips. Hey, we appreciate you guys
Heck yeah,
wherever
man.
you are.
Yes. Thank you all for listening.
And now that we know there's no ladies out there or no like old women, like let's just nope. Let's just
we'll keep the show the same.
little locker room talk here. Josh and Spence.
Oh. We
Hey, boobs, huh?
No. Oh no. This show sucks so much, dude. Oh.
Woo.
All right.
All right.
Let's get started, huh? Okay. All right. We're like 5 minutes in, haven't even said anything.
Is there anywhere our data's off and it turns out it's actually a lot of women that are watching the show that aren't going to appreciate it? Oh, man. But yeah.
All
So
right.
numbers check.
Numbers check went well this morning.
Just worldwide. Worldwide.
Yep. All right.
So we appreciate you out there. Like and subscribe.
Man or woman.
Hit
we
the
love
noti
you.
bell. You're a man between 25 and 34. You know how to hit the noti bell. All right. What are we talking about, Spencer?
Oh, let's talk about building relationships with people. So I was listening to the Ed Milet podcast,
Yep.
and he talked about what the key to happiness is, and it's not money, it's not fame, it's not being a leader at a big company or anything like that. What he found, he was talking, I don't remember his name, the guy he was talking to, but someone professional who was, it's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Like suit and tie.
Yeah.
Gray hairs.
But they were saying like the happiest people in the world are the people who have the deepest relationships with like their friends and family and coworkers and stuff like that. So, and it reminded me, like, you always hear the saying, like, all that matters in life is like how many people you affect and how many people show up to your funeral, right?
Word.
So yeah, it had me thinking, and it's something I figured we could talk about on the podcast. How do we build deeper relationships and get even closer to the people who we are already closer, or the people who we are already close to?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like my mom always said that, like anytime like you'd be a kid and you want to get like a new toy or a new thing or a new whatever, and she would always like, oh, it's all about the people. It's not about the things or the money or whatever. It's all about the people. And but it is at the same time like a learned skill, I feel like, or it's like what you focus on expands. So if you're not really thinking about it, then you're just kind of haphazardly like kind of making friends, kind of not, kind of whatever. But then too, a lot more times if you're not focused on, you're probably focusing on yourself instead of other people. Yep. But then when you realize too, so not only is that the key to happiness, but you're also the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yep.
So then you probably want to be more intentional with who you're spending that time with. So yeah, I don't know, like that. And that's one thing, like for me, that's not been like a natural thing. Like I always hung out, and I use this kind of as like a badge of honor. Like my friends, like I'm still really good buddies with a lot of the guys I like went to elementary school with and like played sports with in high school, and like a lot of us went to college together. It kind of was like our group of friends, but then it just expanded, you know. But because of that, I'd never really developed that. Like I went to college and already had like my built-in set of friends, so I didn't have to like go out. And so even when I like lived in Seattle really briefly, like never made a point to like, hey, let's go out and you know, let's get a beer and let's catch up, or let's, you know, you want to hang like that. And I was just never good at that. Never thought, you know.
Yeah, same for me. I feel like I am more extroverted than other people, but yeah, building new relationships has always been tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it doesn't have necessarily, I don't think, have to be us building new relationships, but maybe just better relationships with the ones that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
So, like one of the things I wrote down is like pick the right relationships that you want to build, and pick the relationships that you want no part of, and just end them.
Yep.
So I mean, who supports you? Who fills your bucket? Who are you like happy after you hang out with? And it's like, oh, that person makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can you become closer to that person?
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're around someone who's like, oh man, I'm just drained after hanging out with this person. I don't feel good after it. Well, then maybe, spend a little less time around that
or
person.
two, you find yourself like all of a sudden, like you hang out with some people and you're having like kind of bigger, cooler conversations, stuff that energizes you. And then, yeah, other times you end up talking about people, or talking about, you know, kind of getting into just less lower level, lower end conversation, which then at the end, you know, yeah, it's like that same feeling like you just ate a bag of potato chips. You just feel like, meh, you know. But yeah, that's one thing. Like as you get older, you realize like time is a finite thing, and you don't want to spend it with, or you want to be intentional with who you spend it with. So doing like, I guess like an energy check is a good way. Like, after I talk with them on the phone, after we text, like, do I feel better or worse? Do I feel more capable, less capable? You know, am I more excited, less excited about doing stuff? Yeah. And then too, so how do you do that? How do you, you know, if you got somebody in your life, how do you take it to the next level, I guess? Like, what does that look like? You know?
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know the answers. Let me be very clear, but
you get coffee. That's the answer.
Oh, Josh knows the answer. Okay.
I'm just kidding.
No, but, I like a couple things I wrote down. So, and I think you're really good at knowing,
Camera on me.
God.
Camera on me.
Jesus.
I'm just kidding.
And I hate this guy.
I'm just kidding.
All
Sorry.
Right.
What
but
am I
like
really
putting stuff in your calendar, like, I'm gonna hang out with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I want to do. So I want to make sure that I am focused on only that. Mm-hmm. So like you'll put going to get coffee or whatever with this person, and it's in your calendar, and now it's like, oh, I can't. There's nothing else that can touch that time, and you can be focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's good. And then I find like something about golf.
Yeah,
you play golf with somebody, like you're kind of trapped together for a couple hours.
Yep.
And like I feel
I think it's just something that you and this other person enjoy. Because I mean, same thing with me in golf, but like hunting or something like that, where you can just like. Yeah, there's something about that where like, you go and then you come back. Like that is just like a bonding thing. Like I went on a hunting trip out in the Badlands last year with Andrew, who like we were good buddies before, but like just all that much tighter afterwards. And then there was another guy, Jaden, who I'd never really met before, but then Phil, you know, there's something about that. But so yeah, just kind of creating that time and then not letting anything kind of get it. So making almost like so for those bigger things too, like making that like a priority, kind of when the year starts or whatever, like, hey, we should do something cool, you know? I don't know, but like some kind of pattern to interrupt because like coffee's good and that stuff's good for like that kind of constant ebb and flow of communication, but something where you can really get away and, you know, let's go
little mini trip or something, or like, because I've got a buddy, like my buddy Paul has just always been really good at that. Like, and that's, part of why I've never really had to be, because I always hung out with him, and then he was always the guy, like, but even now he like moves over to Moorhead, and now he's like good buddy. Like, I don't know. There's just something. I don't know. I don't know how he does it, but it's awesome. It's cool.
Yeah. And when people have your same interests, I mean, it's just so much easier to not only get to know that person, but continue to get to know them and ask questions and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Another thing that you do is like masterminds with other, realtors and other investors and, different business stuff I think is important too. You're good at finding, I hate that this is turning into me just complimenting Josh.
This is the worst podcast ever, huh? Oh my gosh.
But
you got 2 more hours of this, people.
But like getting together with them, like people who can make you better, but also people who you can mentor.
Yeah. So like Lee talks about that in his masterminds, or like our Tuesday morning thing. Like 33% of the people you want to be spending time with are like much better than you at something. So you have like your mentor, right? And then 33% of the people are kind of like lateral peers, where you have somebody there you can kind of help push each other. So you're going through the same things right now. And then 33% of the people, like you're mentoring, like and that going back to like spreading joy and empowering others, like that's what, that stuff is. But, and part of that is like putting yourself out there a little bit. Like I've noticed like being a little bit more vulnerable on social media, like you find out kind of who your people are.
Yep.
If that makes sense. Like I put a lot of just kind of generic, like I'll go through, and if I see a quote that resonates with me that day, like I'll put it on my story, and then you'll see like who that kind of moves the needle with. And they're like, oh, that'd be cool. We should learn more about that person or whatever. Right. So that's been kind of a cool hack, or like a cool byproduct of that I've found, is like people identify themselves that might be, but then the other would be like you doing the same for them. Like they put something out there, like being interested in caring about them, like asking about them, being interested in them, like offering to participate in what they got going on, offering to help with them with something that they need. So if you got somebody, then they're doing some kind of a fundraiser or something like that, or like, how can I help? How can I participate? How can I do that? And then, it'll naturally just, I don't know, there's something about it. And I don't like to use like military terms, because I'm not like a military person, but like being in the same foxhole with somebody, that's, I don't know.
When you talk, so right there, you just started talking about asking questions. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we always hear, have 2 ears and 1 mouth, like listen more than you talk. Well, I've always taken that like how it sounds, just on the surface level. But what I'm learning is, I think to be a good listener, you have to ask even more questions to get deeper and figure out what this person is really saying. Like get more than just a surface level answer. Like people are so afraid to be like, dude, how does that make you feel? Like why is that important? Like tell me more about that. Explain more. And just like really get down to it. Like that's how I think the biggest one on this list that I have, how you get to know someone is what's motivating them, what drives them,
what really moves the needle. So that's a good book. So like one of those like Mount Rushmore personal development books, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And then in there he talks about like people just love the sound of their own name. So like to calling somebody by their own name and stuff, like, well, hey, what's up, man? Like, hey, what's up, Spencer? How you doing? Like that just hits differently. But then too, he tells a story about how this guy, he's like at this party and he's talking to like, it's me talking to you, and you're like into botany, like flowers, and just me asking you like a million questions about it and not saying anything really. But then at the end, that guy be like, hey, I really enjoyed it. You're a great conversationalist. Like I really had a great, and he's like, I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
Like I asked him questions and then that made him want to, and it made that person feel really good, which then, he's likely going to want to, like, who are you going to want to spend time with? The guy that is really interested in what you're saying, or the guy that's like waiting to one up you? It's like, oh, you planted that flower? Like, well, my flower did this. And like that's,
heck yeah, dude. Yeah. I think people are just, and I mean myself included, are just kind of scared and nervous to continue to ask questions and get deeper below the surface level answer.
Yeah,
To get to know someone.
Well, you've never seen Good Will Hunting because you're a child and
No,
you don't watch movies from the 90s. But
it's in black and white.
In
Why would I
there,
watch that?
in there, there's a scene where he's like Robin Williams is talking to Matt Damon. He's like, "It's not your fault," and he's like, "Yeah, I know." It's like, "No, it's not your fault." He's like, "I know." And it's like, "No, it's not your fault." And then Matt Damon just starts bawling. So I feel like anybody is like, if you just ask like somebody like, "Why?" Like, you're like three whys away from them just breaking down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Either that or being like, "Shut up."
but it's at like, I don't know. But yeah, you afraid to get to that level, and then sometimes you feel like, well, we got to be out drinking or partying to like really. It's like, well, you don't have to do that,
right?
You could do
that.
Well,
yeah, I mean, you
any
think
time.
of like, and I mean, this is obviously just the Midwest thing too, but like, "Hey, Josh, how's it going?"
"Oh, good, man. No, living the dream."
Yep. And then we move on.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we ask more? Like, dude, tell me about your life. Like, what do you have going on right now?
Absolute shambles.
Just like the what's new.
Right.
I hate when people ask me that, and I'm to blame because I just give a surface level answer.
Right.
But what if it was like, tell me something good you did this week, or what did you succeed in this week?
Yeah. Hey man,
that's such a deeper question.
What do you know?
Yeah.
It's like, but But yeah, just getting to that next level and then just being. I don't know. There's something about just being like open to. I feel like people can feel that when you're talking to somebody and they really care, and they're not committed to like your answer, or like they're not married to the outcome of what you're about to say. So you can't. There's nothing wrong you can say, but there's just something about that, and then that's like I don't know. It just makes you want to grow closer to that person again. Like that person doesn't have to say anything. You just have to sit and listen and care, and then all of a sudden, but yeah, and then you just kind of find those people. But then too, like going back, like getting clear on who do you want to be and where do you want to go. So then that then helps out. Okay, well, I would love to get to know that person, and then you can. And
then once you start to really get to know these people, you can learn about like how they feel loved and how they feel appreciated, and you can talk better about disc profiles, but I'm familiar with like love language.
Yeah,
so
what's
like
your love language?
Something very important to do with your spouse. Me and Kenzie did that, and it has absolutely been phenomenal. Like I didn't know this. Not everyone feels loved the same way that I do.
Yeah, and
so figure out what makes that other person feel loved, and if it's not your spouse, you can do it with coworkers. Call it a appreciation language. Like how do other people feel appreciated?
Yeah, and then you got to love them the way they want to be loved.
Exactly.
So if like my love language is words of affirmation, and then you do acts of service, like because that's yours, like that doesn't hit the same way for me, and then that can be a disconnect. So that's a super important thing.
There's acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch,
quality time,
and
gift
giving. So figure out those. There's all kinds of tests you can take, but definitely recommend you and your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend.
Okay. And we're back.
Dustin, cut that.
But then too, the disc profile, like are they a driver? Are they the guy that's like, tell me what I need to know, get out of my way, let me make a decision? Are they like an influencer? Are they like bubbly? Do they want to just talk and make you laugh and whatever? Are they an S? Are they kind of slow moving, kind of risk averse? Or are they a C? Are they like super analytical? Do they want to see data and drivers or whatever? So same thing when you're talking to, so like picking up on that, so then you can kind of frame your questions around that and stuff like that. But people like people that are more like them, right? So if you're, so then you kind of mirror and match.
Exactly.
So if you're sitting like this, like I kind of sit like this, and
Well, I think you got to get going. This was a very good podcast. How to build stronger relationships. We are finding that it is probably the most important thing in life. So
nothing more important than the people.
You can think about like, what if I had all the money? What if I had all the fame? But none of it would be worth it if you were all alone. So let's build close relationships with people. What a put a line. And on, I mean, hey, watch for deer.
Shake your bug, dude.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. If you have any suggestions for us, make sure to leave them in the comments. Until next time, watch for deer, shake your bug.